When I started university around a year ago, I met this guy and we had a really big impact on each other and we became quite close friends. And we did all the good habits together and we always get together and we always tell each other, bro, you're gonna make it. Bro, we're gonna do something big. Bro, did you hear what Pharrell said? Did you hear what Tyler said? Like, these guys are so inspirational. We're just gonna be like them. But I always had that lingering feeling when I was talking to this guy that in the back of my mind where my confidence met my delusion, am I actually doing the work to speak things into existence, or am I just talking about other people's lives and other people's achievements? This is a trap that I fall into all the time, and you probably fall into as well, that getting this off your chest and being like, oh, I'm going to do these great things, I'm going to be this great person is amazing and everything. Like, self-image is amazing, very powerful, but it takes away from the actual gratification of putting in the work and actually doing the things that you say you need to do to become this person that you want to be. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I wish my younger self would have known, so that he can have a better mindset going on with his work, so that he can actually speak things into existence instead of just talking about other people's lives and staying stagnant in where he is. There was nothing more painful for me, and there's nothing more painful as a human being than just being in the same place and not doing anything to improve your situation. I think that's a big reason why we distract ourselves with things like social media, instant gratification, because we don't want to face the fact that we're not where we want to be. So starting off, we need to come back down to earth. This motivation is amazing and visualizations are amazing. Visualizing where you're going to be and all the things that you're going to do is amazing. But we need to be honest with ourselves of our current situation, where we are right now. You got to be brutally honest with where we're starting so that we can start growing from that situation. Because you're not facing the same problems that people who are higher up are facing. You got to tackle the problems that are at your level right now first. So for me, I can be honest with you. I can say I make $0 off YouTube. I've only started for 2 to 3 weeks and I'm very small as a creator in this space. But I am going to make an impact. I am going to make the change that I want to see in this world. And that would be a healthier way to think about it. Combining the brutal, honest truth of where you are right now with your confidence. Why this is so important is that we get stuck in the minds of those who are higher above us. There's a lot of times where I get into my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do these great things. I'm going to do this great thing. I have all this content lined up. I have all these big plans, but I take a breather and be like, what do I need to do now? Some of these things that I want to do in the future, there's no point being impatient and daydreaming about all these things if I'm not putting in the work to turn it into a reality. Now that we've come back down to earth, let's set some clearly defined goals for us. It's amazing to have these big goals. I had this big goal that I want to be a big creator. I want to be a big creative. And I want to make change in the world, but that's just so ambiguous. What is your definition of the type of person that you want to be? I don't remember who taught me this, but this might be powerful for you if you're starting out, is open a notebook and just have 2 pages that are completely blank and just write I am at the top. And then the major things in your life that are important to you. So it might be your creative work, it might be your relationships, it might be your health and fitness, might be your family, might be finance. So you write down I am, and then you have these categories, and then you write down I am a creative who does this. You write it from a perspective of when you get to the goals that you do want to get to, what would you then write in these things? So financially, it could be from your future perspective, it could be I make this much money. I can create what I want and I enjoy the work that I do. Or with family, it could be I work on my own terms so that I never get distracted from when I have to help my family out with something. Just write from the perspective of who you want to be. This can help you clearly define the behaviors and the types of things that you really want for yourself in life in the long run. Another thing that would have helped me starting out was, are my goals self-transcending or are they materialistic? This doesn't just mean money, like how much money that I have, but this could also mean are these goals that I can get to and there then be nothing past that? Or are these goals that I can work on for my whole life? Do you always hear about the example that this one person works really, really hard to just get this one thing for their entire life, and then they get the thing and then they go into depression because they're like, now what? Set goals that aren't going to be something that's a one-off thing. Set goals that grow with you and are self-transcending. What does that even mean? What that could mean is the standards that you live in, or it could just be goals that are pretty unreasonable, because we do know how to come back to earth now. We can set these really, really big goals that I am going to change the world in this way. It's very powerful in how you approach your creative work. You're not going to make change in the world if that's not the way that you approach your creative work. When you sit down and you create something, the way that I was taught to think, say you're a YouTuber, the video that you're going to make is going to be on procrastination. The way that you need to approach it, with the mindset that you need to approach it with, is how can I get rid of this problem of procrastination for everyone? What is the universal way that I can fix it for everyone? You come in like that, and what Pharrell says is you make something unbelievably undeniable and equally infectious. Now we have these goals. We need to, again, ground ourselves in the deadlines that we set for ourselves, because they're quite powerful. So my deadlines right now are make 150 videos by July 2025. And if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. I will try and find something else that I can help people with. I will try and push forward to the things that I want. I can't know about the life that I want to live and not try my best to actually materialize it. How much of a disservice would that be to myself? So I have this big deadline, 150 videos by July 2025. And I went down and broke it up based on the different times. So certain times of the quite due to university. So how many videos can I make in that period of time? I wrote a deadline for that. So my current deadline is 25 videos by the time that I go back to university. And I've been posting every single day, and I'm 3 videos off. Once I hit that deadline, it is very important to reward yourself. And why deadlines are so important is that sometimes you don't know whether or not the thing you're going to do is going to work or not. And having a deadline allows you to just push through, get to the deadline, and then reevaluate. But if you're going to reevaluate before you even push through and get to a point, get to a major milestone, then you're never going to make any progress. We're going to talk about that further on. But first, when you set these deadlines, things that are linear, like the amount of videos you can make or the amount of projects that you can create, is something that's very linear. You could just block it out the way that I did. But say you have deadlines for things that aren't linear, that are exponential, things like money, things like success, things like growth, things like followers. The way that I like to think of it is that most people go in and they expect this linear growth that they see in other things, and it chips away at their mental health. It's kind of like driving a car. It requires a lot of energy to accelerate, and then it's easy to cruise. It's harder to gain traction than to maintain a speed. So how I set it out is I have the current month, which, say for me, YouTube, 0. And then my end goal is to get to, let's just say 5,000 for now. So setting a deadline for 5,000 by the end of the year. Let's say we start at January. So how an exponential curve works is looks like this. It's very small, and then it goes up and shoots up like this. So we're here, 5,000 here, 0 is here. Just kind of math it and see where you would be halfway. So in June, so half of 5,000 will be 2,500, but that's linear, right? If you look at the exponential curve, it's actually lower than the actual expected value if it was a linear model. So it would be around 1,000 or something. You can actually put it into a calculator and see. So then, and see how June I should be at like 1,900 to 1,000, right? That's kind of like a mini deadline for you now that kind of breaks it down, and it makes it seem quite easier because 5,000 is up here and 1,900 to 1,000 is down here. And then it gets easier and easier as you go closer to where you are right now. So let's break it down one more time. So if we are in June and we are starting at January with 0 and our June target is 1,000, halfway between January and June would be March. And so let's first find out linearly how much I should be getting. So 900, I should get like 450 by March. But then you need to understand that it's still exponential, so let's minus a couple. So let's target around 200 to 300 and then break it down even more. Between February and March for the 200 to 300 goal that we had, it'd be around 70 that we need to get. And can you see how it's way easier to look at this model and how much you need at a certain time, because That's how growth actually works. And yes, it takes a lot more activation energy to get this growth, but then it has more bite-sized chunks because the amount that you need to grow, especially when you're starting off, is quite small. But you need to keep making that incremental progress. Another thing that I need to address is that the timeline that you have for your goals most of the time needs to increase. Everyone wants everything for them immediately. There is so much growth that you need to do, and there is so much that you need to change for a person to get the benefits of having that growth. So the timeline that you have, whatever it is, it might be a year, double it, triple it. Take your time to get to the thing that you want to do, to learn and have the opportunities to grow as a person, so that when you do get to the stage that you want to do, you're ready and you're mature enough to take on the problems that you need to at that stage. Along this path, how can we improve our decision making, especially when this is a long time, right? 3 years is a long time. Staying focused for 3 years is very, very hard. So there's six steps to it. So when you're going to make a big decision to change your plan or your progress, number one, take a piece of paper, write down the decision. Say the decision for me is to stop making YouTube videos. Say the decision for me is to change up the style of my content growth, switch from YouTube to Instagram, write it at the top of my page. Then I write my big goals down. What do I want? So for me, I want to grow an audience that's authentic to the type of things that I'm talking about. An audience that is on the right side of internet right now, in my opinion. Not the consumeristic, TikTok-y, instant dopamine kind of content, but the more educational, providing value and helping people kind of content. That's my big goals. Step 3, list down all the things that I can do to still get to this thing, all the compromises. So could I post on YouTube and post on Instagram? Could I try Instagram for a bit, pause YouTube? Or should I just not consider it at all because it doesn't align with my goals? The next step is order based on the one that provides the least change and would require the least effort. This is where most of the dopamine goes away. Everyone's going to click off the video now because they want to make these big changes, right? But making big changes is not going to help. If you go in so many different directions, you're never going to go in one. So just having this logical way of thinking instead of using your emotions to dictate what you're going to do on the long run is very important. So just follow those 4 to 5 steps. Next, essentialism is key. There is so much that's going on in our lives and we think that we need to add more to become better, but the actual thing is that we need to take away from the things that we're doing that aren't servicing us anymore. And then once we take them away, we have more time to replace them with the things that do help us. So right now, something that is very important is just audit your life. What are the things that don't service you anymore? Who are people that don't service you anymore? Who are connections that, you kind of talk to every now and then, but they aren't really providing much value into your life? It's fine. You need to let them go so that you can replace them and replace that time with people that are actually going to service you, things that are actually going to service you, using your time that actually is going to help you grow. The final thing that we need to talk about is when to stick and when to twist. So we talked about this already in deadlines, but there could be times where you are accelerating, but you aren't seeing any increase in speed or increase in growth. You're not married to anything that you do. You can change what you're doing. I'm not married to this YouTube channel. If I don't want to do this anymore and I think that it's not going to bring me any progress anymore, I'm not going to do it. Just because you've been doing it for a certain period of time, just because you have a certain connection to it, just because people have attributed that to your identity, doesn't mean you need to continue it if it's not servicing you anymore. Something to understand, especially when you start out, you're not going to make the right decisions. Your first service, your first product, the first type of videos that you make aren't going to be amazing. And you're always going to have to change and optimize. But knowing when to stick to something and knowing when to twist is very important. You have to set yourself deadlines, work towards those deadlines first, and then reevaluate. My micro reevaluations is every 5 videos, and then my macro reevaluation is every 25 videos. If you have a way to really break that down and see what's working in the long run, you can really just understand, if this is not working, this is not working, let's move on to the next thing. Don't be stuck in doing something that's not servicing you anymore. This goes back to essentialism. You're still starting out. You're not married to this. If it's not working, let's move on to the next thing. Let's keep growing. There are so many different routes to get to the thing that you want to do. If these aren't the problems that you want to solve, but you still know the people that you want to help, let's try and help them in a different way. So if you are watching this, this is your sign. Stop talking about other people's lives and start actually putting the work in for yourself. Start speaking things into existence. My name's RK. I help young aspiring creatives monetize their craft in a fulfilling way. If that's something you're interested in, I would love to have a chat with you. First link down below.